slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play
You're telling us about the Dallas Realtor.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit.
Seriously, are the most views I get are from you. I also think some of those come from the posts that are put on your page as well. So I think when we make this content and it goes on your Instagram and socials, it does well for you too. I think what makes your appearance unique is you have such a good insight on a 40,000 foot view. You're one of the top performers in all of Dallas. Out of 600 something agents in our office, you're always 1, 2, or 3. So you've got the experience, but you also study this, so you're able to really back up what you talk about. And so I think we had you on a few months ago, the beginning of the quarter. Mm-hmm. So I think it's now, we're in May, it's almost hitting summer. Mm-hmm. Probably a good time just to let's look at things with where we're at now.
Absolutely.
Have things shifted much since the beginning of the year? Like, what are you seeing right now as a realtor mm-hmm. in the market? What's the market looking like? So we'll just kind of dive in. Let's kind of look at this as a market update.
Absolutely. I love that.
Agents, buyers, sellers out there can listen to this and go, okay, this is where we stand currently in 2025.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's been very, very simple, especially since the beginning of the year. What we've seen is the inventories continue to grow. 18 months in a row, we've seen increased inventories, and now it's starting to have an effect on prices. Okay, before, we were still well behind where we should be, right, to handle the demand. Now we've basically caught up, and
that's a big change from since early this year. Just alone,
it's significant.
Last few months.
And I my numbers might be off a little bit. I think that it's about 77,000 homes nationally that are currently on the market and available, right? So we're seeing numbers that rival what we saw pre-pandemic back in 2019, right? So now the inventory increases are really starting to affect, when I say affect prices, I'll give you two or three very quick examples. Yeah. Up near 380, I've got a property coming on the market probably in the next couple of weeks in Paloma Creek. In that subdivision between Paloma Creek South, there are 85 homes currently on the market.
Wow.
85. That is a huge oversupply, right? And it's affecting sales because now you're looking at maybe 97% of your asking, because the buyer pool, they carry a very big stick now, right? They can look at this one and the other 10 or 12 that are in their price point, and then they can select, the winner that wins the beauty contest and the price war, right?
Right.
And we haven't really seen that. We're seeing it now. Mm-hmm. We're seeing it now, right? One of our friends that you and I both know, we're marketing his property in Rowlett, in Waterview, which to me is the premier neighborhood in Rowlett. And in that neighborhood, there are 24 homes currently on the market. And those homes go anywhere from 400,000 to 800,000. And when you've got 24 of them to choose from, then we just put theirs on the market. And when we first talked and met 5 months ago, we were looking at about $40,000 higher on price. And just within the last 3 or 4 months, now we've had to make that adjustment down. And so that's how and why we're seeing the oversupply of inventory really affect prices now. Matter of fact, final example, I've got a neighbor, we're putting their home on the market in the next 2 weeks. 3 months ago, we were targeting around $615. Today, we're looking at probably $580.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, so one thing I've noticed is, at least in my opinion, it seems like the list price hasn't yet adjusted. Maybe this is where I'm curious on your thoughts. Mm-hmm. The list price hasn't adjusted yet, but people are putting on offers much lower, and so the actual sale price is the adjustment. Are you seeing? So now you're saying you're seeing list prices actually just start coming down.
Absolutely, yeah, and. Keep this in mind also, and again, I'm giving you national numbers, and our local numbers are a little bit better, but nationally, 36% of homes on the market have all had a price cut. 36%, right? We're starting to see the same thing happen here locally. So again, that's affecting our market because we're seeing some buyers, even if they like a home, and that home's already been on the market 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They're sitting on the sideline waiting for another drop or two. And they're like, how low will they go? How low will they go before they jump in? Right. Now, again, that's a risky venture because sometimes while, that price has already been dropped, now somebody else who's been looking now jumps in and they beat you and you miss out.
If you're a buyer listening to this, why would you wait for a price to drop instead of just putting in an offer you're comfortable with?
Again, I think that you're not working with the right professional.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? I'm like, you're right. You're going to make a mistake, right? Because we can't time the market. We can't time the stock market and the housing market, right? When you think that it's hit rock bottom, you don't know until it starts going back up that you missed the bottom. Right? Yeah, you're waiting, and then all of a sudden it's like, bam, now all of a sudden prices start inching up, and then you jump in and you're like, dang, I missed the bottom because we can't time it. We can't. So you just need to get in and I think present an offer that you're comfortable with, and then let's start negotiating. I mean, that's why you and I earn the big bucks, right?
Right.
Because this is what we do. And I enjoy the hunt. I enjoy trying to get you that property that you love for a price that you're comfortable with. And now let's start creating memories in this property, right?
Yeah. The last 2 months, I've had 2 clients together have saved $100,000 off of lists.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is both of these clients, we got the home for $50,000 off.
There you go.
The list price.
There you go.
So it's like, but I think that's why it's important to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, understands sales, understands negotiation. If you're working with an agent that's telling you just to wait for the price to drop, you need to bad move.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, you're talking existing home sales. One thing we're seeing is, and I'm not sure if today's conversation was going to be headed in that direction, but I'll tell you that our new home sales right now are really kind of leading the market. And I say that because I just closed one a week ago Friday, right? And my client, so we got closing costs, but my client got a 4.75% interest rate. It's fantastic.
Wow.
Right? A young gentleman that I coached in basketball, I'm not going to say his name, but when he sees this, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. About 2 weeks ago, we ended up with a brand new home. Again, a little bit further north, not in Plano, not in Frisco, not in Uptown, right? We ended up with all of his closing costs covered, title policy covered, all the amenities, washer, dryer, refrigerator, blinds, sprinkler system. Oh my goodness, there was 1 or 2 others, all covered, and a fixed interest rate of 4.99. Not an adjustable, but a fixed rate, right? And he looked at a couple of existing inventory properties that were 2 or 3 years older, right? More expensive than the new property. And had we pulled the trigger on it, he would be looking at a 6.5% interest rate, not a 4.99, right? So again, my point here is that, if you're looking on the peripheral, and when I say peripheral, I'm talking south, Red Oak, Glen Heights, Lancaster, Cedar Hill, Duncanville. On the south side of Fort Worth, Crowley, hot. North side of Fort Worth, Saginaw, Keller, hot. Here in the Metroplex, Dallas suburbs, Anna Melissa Van Alstyne, all the way up to Sherman. If you're looking in any of those areas, if you don't consider a brand new home, then you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Huge, right? Now, again, it's affecting our existing inventory a little bit. But again, when you and I are working with a buyer, our fiduciary is to take care of them and to put their needs first.
Yeah.
Right. So there's amazing opportunities there. And one other thing, I just saw the report. We've known that Salina has been the fastest growing. And I think for comparable cities, I just saw a report that now Princeton is the fastest growing city in the entire United States. And I think for comparable cities of that size, not surprising. HEB just broke ground on a new flagship store there in Melissa. I mean, it's crazy what we're seeing,
Right.
Happening here locally.
So one question I was going to ask is, if somebody's listening to this and says, well, I own a home now, I'm interested in a new build, how does that work for them when they own that house? They have to sell that house in order to buy a new house. Do builders work with people like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I will tell you, my role, especially over the last 5 years, has changed so significantly. You've just created the perfect scenario that I step into every day. You own this property, you're wanting a new build. My responsibility now is to try any way possible for you to maintain this current house. We're not going to sell it, okay? Because that's going to be part of your real estate portfolio now. Chances are, if you bought that home pre-pandemic, you've got plenty enough equity in it, right? We can probably pull equity out of that property and use that as a down payment if you don't already have one on the new property, and then we're going to turn around and rent this property for you. But if you want to sell it,
let's say they can't do that.
Yeah, if you can't do that, we've got builders that are working with us big time. The one we just closed a week ago, when we entered into the contract, their current home wasn't even on the market. I was so confident that it would take less than 30 days. The builder was like, no problem at all. By the time we hit, and I think most builders, by the time they hit sheetrock, they need to know that that property is either already under contract and or closed. And so again, that's when working with the right professional is, it's key. Because when I'm running my analysis and the numbers, I'm going to tell you, here's our price position. This should allow us to get the property sold, not leave any meat on the bone. Get this property sold, in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or definitely within 45 days, which will more than meet, the builder's expectations. So for most builders, that's not a problem at all. Again, because they've got standing inventory. And again, I probably shouldn't say this, but we've got every builder, everyone, they're whining and dining us because we're the ones with the buyers. And believe it or not, most serious buyers are not walking into that builder's home unrepresented.
Yeah.
They're just not.
Right.
So, and when I tell you the numbers vary a little bit, but realtor sales with those builders are anywhere from a low of about 78% to about a high of about 85, 86, 87%. And so, we're the key to their success. And so between bonuses and I've seen all other kinds of things, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't receive 20 emails from builders all over the Metroplex. Here's their inventory. Here's the deals that that they have. Here's the incentives that they have. Again, it's smart money. Smart.
Yeah, and so they're giving points or discounts to interest rates.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, incentives for you and I also. Like I said, we've got buyers in tow, and they're like, Ben, bring us your buyers, right? We'll make sure that you're very well taken care of. And again, we're already taken care of. The main focus here is to make sure that our clients are taken care of. And so there's some smoking deals out here. And so if you're hearing me, if you've got just decent credit and you're wanting to finally get out of Big Mama's house, you're finally ready to get out of Mom and Dad's, house. You're finally ready to get out of the apartment that you've been in for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Now is the time. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, so I think it's like, well, we're talking to buyers here, because this is the reality. A lot of buyers are not moving because of the interest rates. They are still looking at, especially first-time home buyers. So these are people who are, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, probably all the way to 30. When they first had the opportunity to buy a home, interest rates were low. So their mindset on interest rates are skewed, unfortunately, compared to any other generation. So they're still looking at 6.5. I mean, I think the prime today was not the prime, but the rates right now are, you can get 6.5.
Absolutely.
So I had a client that we just locked to 6.35, which is the best it's been. So I think they're still looking at it going, it's just, I've got either a 2% on my home now. I don't want to buy for 6.5. And so that's what's keeping people from buying. But the reality is that as soon as those rates drop, you're not going to get as good of a deal on a home right now.
That's exactly right.
And the builders aren't going to be as incentivizing.
100%.
So you kind of have to pick your poison. But it's like, if you want to make that move, I'm begging people, like, now is the time to do it, because I see rates dropping. I think our president is adamant about dropping rates. So if they drop by 27, we're going to have another, it's not going to be like COVID, but it'll be, homes are going to go up again.
And again, I think that the buying public, they've heard us say it, and I believe that some are finally starting to listen. They're finally starting, because they realize that we're not expected to see 4% interest rate, right? I personally believe and have heard we won't see a 3 during our lifetime unless we go through another pandemic, right? But I think they finally realize that there's a need, right? We still see the majority of homes on the market are on the market because of death, divorce, diamonds, diapers, and deployment, right? We haven't seen the defaults, which is the 6D effect, right? We haven't seen that. So now they've realized, okay, I can't sit here and wait. I have a need. Let me jump. Everybody knows that within the next year or two, we believe that the interest rates will be significantly lower, but not at 3, probably not at 4, but clearly we're going to be into the 5s, 5%, 5.25%, 5.5%, which will give you an opportunity to refinance if you'd like, right? So I think today most folks they're just taking advantage of that and realizing, I just can't sit here and wait, because if I do and the interest rates fall, now all of a sudden that home I liked, there are multiple offers on it. And what's crazy is we are still seeing multiple offers for properties that are, they're cream puffs. And when I say cream puffs, we're talking they're model quality. I mean, you walk in and there's not a thing that needs to be touched other than you bringing your clothes, right? Those properties, matter of fact, I just got off the phone yesterday with a friend. They were in an exclusive neighborhood in Plano. They offered, I think she said they offered $50,000 above the asking price and didn't get it. Okay. So when we see that happening on the high end, it then starts to trickle down into the lower price range. Now, again, this was a multi-million-dollar property, right? And so what we've also seen is, and I know we probably weren't headed in this direction, but I think I love your platform here, because it's about education. And what we're finding right now, especially on the high end, that market is extremely healthy, where 1 out of every 4 buyers are paying cash. And we're talking multi-million-dollar property, right? When that market is so confident in the economy and jobs, job growth, housing, many have taken the money from the market, I'm talking stock market, and put it into real estate. Matter of fact, we were talking before we aired today. One of my best clients, he's got significant money in the market, in the stock market. there's no confidence at all. He's taking that money and investing it in real estate. That is not a phenomenon. We've seen that happen forever, but I think more so now because of what I'd call some of the wackiness we see happening in Washington. There's very little. Consumer confidence is at an all-time low.
Yep.
All-time low, right? So those folks are, I think they're being smart and prudent with their money, and they're moving it to a proven resource,
Right.
and that's real estate.
So before I want to pivot to talking to sellers, but before we do, I just want to hit on something because I think somebody watching this, like I'm thinking of one person, I'm not going to say his name, but he owns a home now. He's only interested in new builds. They like that. They like the modern thing. So his concern is if I can't go buy a new build unless I sell my house. So what you're saying, I just want to make sure this is clear, is that builders will accept contingencies.
Absolutely.
On the sale of another home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More so today than we've seen in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell him that concern is alleviated. We've got you. It all depends on the builder too, right? If it's a small Joe Blow builder, maybe not. But if he's dealing with one of the larger builders here in the Metroplex, I've just not seen that be a problem. Now, again, it could be a problem and could cost him a little extra money if 60-day, 90-day, 120 days into the process, that home still isn't sold. He's going to have to make a hard decision, right? But again, if he's dealing with you, I don't worry about him. Again, you're going to price it correctly. You're going to market it aggressively. And I think within a reasonable amount of time, you'll have that property under contract.
Yeah, for sure. All right, pivoting to sellers. I think we summarized buyers. It's a great market to buy. Now, talking to sellers. So what do they need to be doing to get their home sold?
Simple. I mean, it's real estate 101. I mean, you need to address everything from your curb appeal, the landscape in the front door, scents and smells. I mean, if you've got dogs and cats or, you cook with whatever, right? Because if it smells, it's not selling. It doesn't sell, right? If it's not compelling, it's not selling. We need to make sure that property, I mean, we're putting our best foot forward. My last 3 or 4 listings, we've worked anywhere from 30 to 100, well, I'd say 1 to 2 months to get those properties ready to put on the market. And so that's not been wasted time at all. We've been focused on details that consumers appreciate. They don't have to worry about touch-up paint because we've got that covered. They don't have to worry. There's stuff everywhere. We've minimalized the property, right, so that when they walk in, they can visualize themselves in it, right? We've decluttered. The cabinets and counters are clear. If we've made updates that were reasonable and sensible, that will return money back to us. If we've got properties that are dated, again, I've got great contractors that can come in and do some refresh, right, with counters and backsplash and undermount sink and hardware, and we've kept those upgrades to a reasonable cost for the seller, but the return is there. We're seeing, personally, I prefer a 3 times return on that, but we're seeing 2.5 all day, every day. And again, I think that's still smart money because if we could refresh your kitchen and do it for, I'm using round numbers, but if we could do that for $10,000, but it now allowed me to push your price another $25,000, $28,000, that's great return.
Yeah,
and we're seeing that. So that's the key from a seller standpoint. Right now, the consumers, they're not buying junk. They're not buying it because they've got too many options. Right, they can go right down the street and buy the Joneses home, which shows a pride of ownership and it's been well cared for. They're going to buy the Joneses home.
So you just listed some, but like what specifically could you do as a seller to separate yourself from the person down the street that's selling the house?
The easiest thing is paint. because that's the cheapest thing you can do, right? But again, start at the curb. Right, you have to start at the curb first because I've always said that when a buyer is with a professional agent, there are three critical junctures in them taking the next move. Is one, as they pull into the neighborhood, as they pull up to that property, they better get a warm and fuzzy like, oh, that's cute. Oh, I can't wait to see it. Okay, as they hit that front door. Right, the landscape in the front door needs to be tight. Now they're excited. When they step into that property, within the first 10 seconds of entering that property, they're either going to get that warm fuzzy or they're going to already know this isn't it for me. Mm-hmm. It's critical that we win every step of that. We have to win every step. And I am the prime example when I bought, not my investment properties, but when I bought my personal home, I had seen a number of homes. I'd already done my homework. As soon as I walked into that property, I was like, oh, heck, okay. And I'm telling you, I wasn't in that property 15 seconds before I knew this was my house. This was mine. And that's critical from a seller standpoint is work with me, work with you, work with a proven professional that can make sure that at every juncture the house is right, it shows properly. That buyer is going to have that emotional connection because, logic makes them think, but it's emotion that makes them act. And so when they step in, I mean, the scents are perfect. The property shows beautifully. Maybe it's staged, maybe it's not, right? I don't always stage my properties, but I do stage every property, meaning if there's too much clutter, we're going to minimalize it. I need for that chair and that table and that ottoman, I need that to go to the garage or your storage, right? Yeah. You and I are not bashful about educating our sellers as to what the consumer is really looking for, or can they see themselves in that space? And if they can't, because this whole wall is full with all your kids, from K through 12, right? And all your vacation photos and your wedding photos. I need that gone. I need all that gone. Yeah. Right. So again, I think that's real estate 101. It's simple. It's just not easy.
So, or what is your opinion on staging? Do you think, is it worth it for a seller?
I think that there are 2 or 3 companies out here that are extremely reasonable. And I think for many sellers, that's the move to go. For many.
Really?
Now, not every, because I've got a number of sellers that their homes are just spectacular, right? But for those that aren't, and when you're in a really competitive market, sometimes that is the advantage that you need, right? So it's not right for everybody, but again, I would tell you, if you're looking at the old rule of thumb used to be almost 1%, right? But it would then help you generate a sale of at least 3 to 4% higher than normal. I think we're finding now many of the stagers, they're charging about a half of that percent. So if it's a $700,000 property, we're seeing most stagers are coming in now about $3,500 to $4,000. Okay, I think that's very reasonable. Now, some of the higher end, it's going to cost you a bit more than that. But if you're spending $35,000 to $4,000, that should now allow me to, again, push the price point and capture that back at least to the tune of 2 or 3% extra. So spending a half of one to get an extra 2 or 2.5, that's smart money.
So whose responsibility is it to pay for the staging?
My clients all day.
The clients.
Mm-hmm. So now, occasionally, again, because I need the write-offs at times, and so in some cases, I will cover that up front and then get reimbursed on the back end. Again, I'll do that once or twice a year. Yeah. But typically, it's my seller's responsibility. They pay for it up front.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, let's now kind of pivot to, just to summarize that, I think pretty much what we're saying is if you're a seller, you have to stand out. Mm-hmm. You have to focus on curb appeal. Mm-hmm. You have to potentially stage. The inside needs to look good. It needs to smell good. This is not the market that it was 3-4 years ago where you could just list your home and it would sell.
That's right.
What are you doing to stand out? And if you're not, you just have to expect days on market to increase.
That's right.
Or,
Absolutely.
Or price to decrease.
And don't get mad. Don't get mad at Wes when, again, you know, yours is just average. And now, you know, you've been on the market 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. That's not unusual to see those properties. I saw one the other day. It was on the market for 402 days. And it wasn't compelling at all. And so I thought, why are you even still here?
Yeah.
Right? Why?
Right. Well, I've started doing this, and you know, this is my approach. First question I ask when I meet with a client is, what is the most important thing? Are you wanting to sell this home, or are you wanting to get the most for this home? Because what I always say is, if you have not gotten an offer and it's been 2 weeks on the market's telling you the price is too much. So some people go 2 weeks, and here's my point with that is, if you're not even getting showings within those 2 weeks, it's really telling you something's off with this home.
Absolutely.
If you're getting showings, like you've told me, one out of every 10 showings should result in an offer presented. Right. So if you have 10 showings in 2 weeks and you're not getting an offer, price is too much.
That's right.
That's when you drop.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm at least advising. Now, whether they want to do that or not, you know, that's up to them. But if 2 weeks, no offer, decrease the price. I'm not saying much.
That's right.
Everybody's scared to drop the price because they think it looks bad. No, we're just trying to be competitive.
Right.
We're trying to sell the house, try to get as much as we can for the house, but we have to also be reasonable with what we're listing it for.
100%.
So, okay, pivoting now, speaking to really real estate professionals, what have you seen 2024? We're halfway through 25 now. Mm-hmm. Are they similar years? Are they a little different?
Yeah, I think they're a little different. Because again, we didn't have all the political stuff, you know, with our leadership and the talks of tariffs and all those things. So that's a little different. Again, we're seeing that.
But I guess you still kind of had uncertainty during the back half of
we did
24 because you didn't know who was going to be president.
We did.
Now you don't know what's going to happen with tariffs.
That's right.
So it's still
what's interesting, and I just saw a piece on Channel 8, I think the end of last week, or maybe it was Monday of this week. They did a report that the tariffs haven't resulted in significant price increases yet, which was interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that I'm defending their position at all, but I think it was just interesting to hear that. I think what I'm seeing is that the interest rates are still having an effect, but not as much. I think that the increased inventory is having effect. I think that it's when you look at all the metrics, and here's the point I'm making. Mortgage applications were up 11%, this month.
This month.
Okay, this month they're up. We're seeing current inventories nationally and locally are the highest we've seen since 2019, pre-pandemic, right? We have now moved more toward a buyer's market than I think we've been in the last, since 2009, 10, or 11. That's the significance. And yet, even with that, prices are still expected to increase between 3 and 5% this year. And that's conservative. Some neighborhoods will see a larger price increase or appreciation gains over 2025. And next year, I expect, along with many real estate economists, that we're going to be looking at appreciation gains of anywhere from 5 to 7 or 8%, and some neighborhoods will bump more than 10. So all that being said, you said it earlier, now is truly the time for a buyer to jump in the marketplace, because I can tell you just in the last month, I've told at least 3 or 4 clients that within the next 2 to 3 years, if you don't make a move, you're going to miss out on at least 15%. And if we're talking, a $300,000 home, which there aren't many of those out here, right? Just add the numbers up. That is significant growth, okay? And if we're talking about the average first-time home purchase today, which is anywhere between $4 and $450, and we're talking about a buyer who's now 38 years old. And Wes, hear me when I tell you this. To me, this is one of the most significant changes in our marketplace. When you and I were buying our first homes, we were young, we were a little ahead of the curve, right? I was 26, buying my first home. Today, it's 38 years old. They're buying their very first home, and those homes now, they're not below 100,000. Back in the day when I bought mine, those homes today are between $400,000 and $450,000. My fear is that where in the world are we going to be in the next 3, 4, 5 years, right? The age of the average first timer, it's not going down; it's ticking up. And if you don't make the move, that same purchase that now is going to run you between $400,000 and almost $450,000 in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to be talking about $450,000 to maybe $475,000 for your very first home, and we're not talking about 3,000 square feet. Right? We're talking about 1,900 square feet.
Right.
To me, I'd say it's scary, but again, it's just the reality. Our real estate market, it is not going down. It's not going down. It's not going down. So you need to get in where you fit in. And my last example, I told a couple just yesterday, I said, if you don't get off the fence, you're going to miss some of these opportunities. And I just closed 30 days ago, great clients. They were in the home for 3 years and a month. 3 years and a month. And those were not, the most successful 3 years we've had, right? They made, by living in the property and just maintaining it, they made $101,000. They made $100,000 living in a home. They made more than many Americans make on their job. They made that by living in a house.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy.
Crazy, yeah. I mean, that's just the benefits of real estate, of owning real estate.
Absolutely.
So you think 25 is a better year for agents than 24 was, or it could be. It's shaping up.
It should be, but it will only be that for the agents who realize that, you know what, if you're not sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you know what, you're going to be part of the 75% last year who didn't close a unit. What you need is to make sure, and again, this isn't a recruiting pitch here, but what I will tell you is if you're not surrounding yourself with high-minded eagles that are soaring high, then you're going to continue to walk amongst the turkeys.
What do you think they should be doing if you did not make a sale in 24? Maybe you haven't made a sale this year in 25, or you've made one.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to be doing right now to turn it around?
First of all, you better pick up the phone and call me, or call another respected leader and say, what in the world am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And then let's talk about a business plan to advance you, right? That's your first thing. If you're not sitting here now just throwing yourself into training and even online learning. I mean, we've got a whole university. You could spend days and days and days in the comfort of your home and your PJs, soaking up knowledge and learning. If you're not doing all that, then you're falling further and further behind. And I will tell you, I hear, and it makes the hair on my arms stand up. I see some mature agents who've been in the business, and they think that, man, you guys at Keller Williams, first of all, we've been the number one training company across all industries forever, right? And that's not just real estate, but everyone in real estate knows that. And some of our competition would say, yeah, go to Keller Williams and get trained up, and then come over here. That's stupid advice, but you should be reaching out to someone to. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again,
right?
And expecting
different, right?
Yeah.
So you now have to be selfish, and when I say that, Our most traditional company here, and I won't mention it because it's a good company, but we've got agents over there that are very mature, and they believe that I don't need to go to any classes, I don't need any training. That tells me that's an agent they've stopped growing, they've stopped learning, they've stopped maturing. Their production has halted, right? That's the one I just sometimes want to grab by the neck and say that you need a little something, because this market has changed in the last 5 years. It's changed in the last 10 years. Again, come soak up some of the energy and the synergy that we have in my office and in this industry. There's so many good companies. You need to put yourself in the middle of one of those because, and again, this isn't a knock against small mom and pops, but unfortunately, those companies, they don't have the bandwidth to handle a ton of agents who are green and raw or who've been seasoned, who've just hit a plateau, and they need something unique and something different. So I would tell you that's the main thing is you now need to be in an environment, a training environment, a loving and supportive environment. And again, this isn't a pitch for my company because I can tell you I'm seeing the same thing at Compass. I'm seeing the same thing at some other very respected companies around here. They're wrapping their arms around their agents and saying, what in the world do you need? Let's analyze what you're doing. Where is your business coming from? And that's key for most agents today. If you don't know where your business is coming from, then again, you don't know how to spend more time and effort and marketing dollars in that area to bring in more business. Right. And so again, you need to be able to sit down, analyze your business, analyze your budget, the money you're spending. Are you spending money? That's the key there, Wes, is most agents don't even have a marketing budget. And I have told agents for at least for the last 20 years when I've been more in leadership that even as a brand new agent, you just got your real estate license. You need to establish a budget, and your budget right now, it's about $80. And so they're like, Ben, what is $80 going to do for me? And I tell them, you've probably heard me say this. I'm like, that $80 is going to buy you a roll of stamps. That's what that $80 is going to do. You take that roll of stamps and you throw them on an envelope, and each and every day you sit down and you send a personal note to somebody who's had an impact on you personally, spiritually, right? Business, someone who's given you 2 minutes of their time and you got a nugget from it.
Yeah.
You send them a personal note.
Yeah.
And when I receive those notes, I'm like, when I tell you, I don't throw them away. I keep them for a long period. And every now and then when Ben Baker, and it happens, when I'm down in the dumps, what do? I'm like, dang, I read that note. I read that note. And sometimes that's what I need to lift me back where I need to, get me out of the mud, because it's okay to wallow in it. We just can't stay there too long.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
I think that's the key. That's the key for agents today is that you now have to do something different. And I won't recite this properly, but 10X, it's a book. And I got a lot from that book because what it says is that, you know what, if you want to just do more production, right, you can spend more time at it. But if you want to do 10X, you've got to make a radical change.
Yeah.
Radical.
Yeah.
And sometimes that radical change means you now need to leave your past behind and start anew somewhere and really start, I'd say, throwing some spaghetti up against the wall to see what sticks, because you've been doing this, but not getting the results. I now need to see you do this, and this, and this, and this.
Yeah.
Right? In order to see what's working for you and where is the business, where are the leads going to come from.
Yeah. Good stuff. So that's your May 17th, 25 market update. We've spoken to buyers, sellers, and agents. Love to have you back on in a few months and see where we're at.
Man, I'm anxious to see what happens over the heart of the summer selling season, right? And I think what I'm expecting, because now, again, I'm going to quote March's numbers. We saw the market up over 30% on pending home sales, right? Now, that was March, so that was almost 2 months ago. Those pending sales should have now closed in April or May. We're also seeing, this is May, like what, May 17th?
Yeah.
Okay. We're seeing since the beginning of May, we're seeing that trend continue, which should then result in higher prices here in June and July, right? Again, I just did a deal. It won't close until July. The deal I'm writing today, we're targeting July 1st as a close. And so my hope is that the next time I'm on, or your guest, you'll see over the next 3 months that the inventories will start to shrink some, and we'll see pending home sales continue to increase, and we'll start to see the list to sale ratio. We'll see that move from about 97.5%. We'll see those numbers inch up to 98 or 99%, which will be very, very healthy for our overall real estate economy here.
I'm looking forward to seeing if that happens, and
Yes.
I think this is good. Market updates are so important to people, and I think people listening to this will get a lot of value from your insight. And then I think it's important to do these probably once a quarter.
Yeah.
You know, just because things change so fast.
They do.
So
They do.
so glad to have you on.
Man, it's always, I love
Yeah.
it. It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
thanks for coming.
You keep doing the good work. 'Cause
Trying.
I'm seeing it. I think you're feeling the impact. I believe that your clients are benefiting from the knowledge that you've gained and you share. So if you're not working with this guy, then I think you're missing an opportunity. So
Well, I think people that listen to this and say I need to work with you, but yeah, regardless, we're here to help, both of us.
I appreciate you.
So thanks, Ben.